Good morning, my bass brethren. I am here today with a 1970s Univox Phase III Hi-flyer bass. The decal logo, humbucking pickups, alder body, possibly maple, possibly basswood, I'm not sure. Two saddle bridge, volume tone control on the toggle switch, beautiful rosewood fingerboard, and a three-piece maple neck, and the tuners on the Phase 3 now have metal keys as opposed to the plastic on the Phase 1 and Phase 2 Hi-flyers. Now, the Hi-flyer occupies an interesting space in my bass development, my bass journey as a player. I started off with a Kingston jazz bass wannabe. Horrible piece of work. Short scale jazz bass knockoff from Japan. You can see the file marks in the contours of the neck. It wasn't very finely crafted, but my folks rented that for me, and that was my quote first bass. The first real bass I owned was a Clear violin-shaped bass, 365, and they were built in West Germany in the same town as Hofner, and even shared some of the hardware that Hofner used. And I was very lucky. That was a really high-quality violin bass for a very reasonable price at the time. So I had my Kingston, the Clear. Then in '72, my folks bought me a real Hofner. I thought I was set for life because, hey, if it's good enough for Paul, right? Well, it became clear to me right around 1973 that I needed a solid body bass. Now, the problem was I didn't have any freaking money. I was a kid. I was 14. I'm in that phase, that Beavis and Butthead phase of life where, young teenage boys, we're still riding bikes, we don't have cars, we don't have jobs, we're in a tough spot. So I somehow scraped together $30 and rode up to the great House of Guitars on my 10-speed bike, and lo and behold, the House of Guitars had a Univox Hi-flyer there. Now it was a Phase 2. It was black with the more single coil, the more P90-like pickups, and they sold it to me for $30, and I gladly rode home with it slung over my shoulder on my 10-speed bike. No case, no nothing. But the minute I plugged it in and started playing with my band, I'm like, there it is. There's this fuller, more solid sound coming from a solid body bass. Univox flyers are short scale. They're patterned after Mosrite basses of the 60s, excuse me. I misspoke. And they're actually a really very well made knockoff. And coincidentally, I would own briefly a 60s Mosrite in 1975, and that was another sort of stop on my bass journey to Thunderbirds, which you guys know I love, and they're my, that's what drives me, man, Thunderbirds. But anyhow, back to the Hi-flyer. I really loved that bass. I was surprised how well built it was. This is an interesting period in instrument manufacturing where made in Japan did not necessarily mean junk. It was starting to mean quality, and these Univox basses were one of the big leaps in that, followed by Ibanez and Greco, etc. But I always had fond memories of my Hi-flyer, and I just, I kind of was beginning to wonder, was it as good as I thought? As a kid, my experience with basses wasn't that, well developed yet. Wasn't my well of knowledge wasn't that deep. So I've been wanting to add a Hi-flyer to my collection for a long time. And my wife, on my birthday, my 64th birthday, when I'm 64, here I am. That went fast. But anyhow, my wife said, go ahead, get that for your birthday. I found this on eBay for a very reasonable price. A lot of these, because of their point in history, the Hi-flyers came out in the late 60s and they were manufactured till about 75 or so. A lot of them bore the brunt of punk. And I've seen a lot of these stickered up, beat up, and just wildly abused. And so to find one in very nice original condition, There's some nicks and dings, of course, but that's okay. Got the Univox U on the neck plate there, and for the Series 3, they switched to this really cool decal logo, which I love. The bass has some round wound strings on it. I like the gauge on them. And I love the yellow windings. They're a little dead, but I just love the aesthetic of the yellow windings. I'm going to leave them on for a while, and then I'll put some better ones on at some point. So I haven't done much to set up the bass. I gave it a little once over. I probably will tweak the truss rod a little, and yeah, but the action is pretty good. The neck feels beautiful, 3-piece. It reminds me of a 60s Gibson EB3 or EBO, the late 60s, like the 67s through 69s. Very thin, very fast, small frets, beautifully dressed. This bass plays great. It is not a substandard instrument. It's a very, very nice instrument. I was really shocked by it. Not shocked, but it just confirmed what I thought when I was younger, that, hey, you know what? This is a really nice little bass. What's it sound like? So you've got the 2 humbucking pickups, which are unique to the Phase 3. The earlier ones had the single coil. So here, we'll give the neck pickup a go. It does have a very Gibson EBO-like sound, you know. Nice sounding bass, big, full. It's got some really good authority to it. Now we'll switch to both pickups. Practice it. Now, let's give it a go again. There, I've ruined the entire video, but I'm not going to backtrack for my poor playing. But really well-balanced sound. Now, sounds great. Really great. I almost like the bridge pickup all by itself, which kind of shocks me. I typically like a pickup right in the central position. So with basses with the pickup at the neck and the pickup at the bridge, you're kind of forced to do this kind of dance between, you know, the lower, more open tones at the neck and the brighter, tighter sounds at the bridge. But this isn't too close to the bridge, so you know it does. It still retains some of the fullness, but still has a good bite to it. Really nice sounding bass, great playing, easy to play, light, short scale. These are getting a lot of attention lately. So, and I can see why. They're really well made. They sound really good. This is just a real blast from the past for me, and I'm really, really digging having one of these again. It's like my favorite thing at the moment. So, check them out. The Univox Hi-flyer bass. There's the phase 1, the phase 2, and the phase 3, which I have here in my hot little hands. So until next time, folks, keep on rocking.